Thank you, everyone, for hanging around. My name is Adam Berg. I'm with Kasten by Veeam. Our presentation is called Integrated Amazon EKS Backup and App Mobility with Kasten by Veeam. We're going to do a quick overview of what we're doing. And I got a cool demo for you guys as well. So let's get right to it. Again, my name is Adam Berg. I'm with the product management team at Kasten, and I manage our technical partnerships. So one of our biggest and largest partnerships is, of course, Amazon and AWS. So I think everyone sort of has an idea that Kubernetes is getting really, really huge. And the analysts are out there agreeing, right? So by 2024, they're expecting 500 million new apps to be deployed as containers and containerized applications, more than the last 40 years combined, or the apps that are going into containers and Kubernetes. By 2025, 75% of enterprises are going to be running applications as containerized applications. And in the next 24 months, everyone that's moving into Kubernetes is going to be understanding that they're going to be, or 52% of organizations are learning that their legacy data protection tools are not adequate for protecting containerized applications and applications that are being deployed within Kubernetes, like Amazon EKS and OpenShift on top of Amazon services as well. So just to cut right to the chase, what is Kasten K10 and what do? We do three things really, really well. We're the market leader in data protection for applications deployed on top of Kubernetes. We provide multi-tenant, role-based access control, the highest scalability. We're protecting the largest Kubernetes clusters in the world with Kasten K10. We also do app mobility. This is a completely infrastructure agnostic app mobility. So we're able to move applications from on-prem up into Amazon EKS or something like Amazon EKS Anywhere, deployed on bare metal. We can do complete agnostic, hardware agnostic app mobility for Kubernetes applications. And then also app mobility, disaster recovery for Kubernetes as well in a completely agnostic way. So I can do DR from different region to different region for Kubernetes. I can do DR from on-prem up to the public cloud. DR from public cloud to on-prem. So completely agnostic app mobility and disaster recovery. So what we're doing here with Kasten K10, we have a complete platform that's completely integrated with all the Amazon services, such as Amazon RDS databases. We're integrating with IAM. All the storage services like EBS and EFS storages are completely integrated, as well as Amazon KMS services for key management. So what we're doing is complete application capture, and I'll talk about that in just a minute, what that looks like for a Kubernetes application, why it's so much different than traditional applications deployed on top of a vSphere or even EC2 type applications as well. Completely integrated into cross-region replication, right? So when we do replication from region to region, we're using native Amazon replication services from an integration standpoint as well. And we're completely available on the Amazon EKS marketplace and containerized marketplaces for easy deployment. So an application in Kubernetes is fundamentally completely different from traditional applications. And that's why you need a dedicated Kubernetes-specific data protection tool like Kasten K10. We're looking at applications holistically, capturing every piece of an application. So applications deployed on Kubernetes are more than just the data. We got not only are things like pods and persistent volume claims, we have metadata like service configurations. We got our networking configurations. We have config maps. We have secrets. All of that metadata is what actually makes up an application within Kubernetes. So Kasten K10 has the ability to look at that entire application in real time, discover every piece of that application, and protect the application holistically. And this is what's fundamentally different about legacy applications or trying to roll your own data protection or using scripts to back up applications. It's putting it all back together when it's time to recover the application. So Kasten makes that super simple for you. We can do full application capture, granular recovery, or complete application recovery, and recover that to any Kubernetes cluster on any infrastructure. So I want to take you through a recent customer scenario and how Kasten K10 was able to solve some pretty unique challenges for a particular customer. So this customer had some unique requirements. They were deploying EKS clusters in multi-AWS regions, in this case, France and in EU West 3, and Italy in EU South 1. And they needed to use infrastructure as code methodologies, right? So we get repeatable, quick deployment of identical Kubernetes clusters in both regions. They needed to do cross-cluster backup and DR, right? So they're doing DR between these two regions was a hard requirement. But they had some unique applications being deployed on top of Kubernetes, including MongoDB, Postgres, MySQL, Amazon RDS was in use. So they had multiple different database technologies that were in use that are challenging applications to protect. So they were also deploying these applications on a mix of EBS block storage and EFS file storage, right? So we've got multiple different storage technologies in use at this particular customer, right? And they were really worried about ransomware, right? So ransomware in Kubernetes is still a problem, still something we need to be thinking about. And they're worried about how do we mitigate ransomware challenges with my important data deploying inside of Kubernetes. So some of the key challenges and why they started talking to Kasten was their legacy data management solutions were just not, they just weren't adequate, right? We talked about they weren't doing complete application capture. They weren't able to protect these cloud-native databases deployed on top of EKS. They had multiple storage technologies in use. So they needed solutions that understood and integrated with EBS block storages. They also integrated with EFS file storages and also S3. And of course, they needed immutability because we were talking about ransomware, and we need to be able to guarantee that data is immutable from hackers and attackers and even insider threats. So here's what Kasten K10 was able to do for this customer. Right, so Kasten K10 is able to be completely deployed as infrastructure as code. We are a cloud-native application ourselves, so you can completely deploy Kasten K10 with infrastructure as code right into all your well-architected EKS clusters. And we were a launch partner with Amazon EKS Blueprints, which is their infrastructure as code for EKS. So our deep Kubernetes integration with EKS was able to solve all of those integration problems that they were having, right? So we're able to take application-centric backup. We're able to enable cross-region integrated replication for their Kubernetes applications and deliver complete disaster recovery across regions. Our native support for the most popular databases right out of the box was key for this customer. So we're able to accelerate the integrated data protection for all those critical databases with stateful services like Mongo, Postgres, MySQL, and Amazon RDS. Those are all natively supported right out of the box from Kasten K10. So we're saving them all of that effort trying to figure out how do I integrate my data protection into those applications. And with our integration with EBS and EFS storage, we're actually able to take native Amazon snapshots of those applications with our integration right there. So we're using native Amazon APIs to create instantaneous application snapshots of those applications. And of course, Kasten K10, if you weren't aware, we were the first Kubernetes data protection to support object lock immutable API support. So we're out there thinking about ransomware. We understand that ransomware is still a problem in Kubernetes, and I'll show you in a little bit how exactly that works with Kasten K10. Right, and one more quick customer scenario here. This is with a good partner of ours, Leidos. So they're a tier 1 government contractor, and they deploy hundreds of government-level DoD quality class Kubernetes clusters, right? So they work with AWS GovCloud, and they've got massive compliance needs, right? They just to validate a single Kubernetes cluster that they were deploying for the U.S. government was taking them 45 days, right? This is a huge problem for them. They have a big multi-tenancy issue, right? Hundreds of projects, right, across multiple AWS tenants, right? So massive scale, massive problems with getting these clusters up and running and validated for the U.S. government. So Kasten K10 was able to come in and be part of what they called a golden stack. They went and validated the best-of-breed solutions and created a best-of-breed stack of solutions inside of Kubernetes that they could repeatedly deploy and guarantee that the applications and the clusters themselves were going to be compliant, right? So they're reducing the compliance of these clusters down from that 45 days down to just 3 to 4 days to validate these government-level Kubernetes clusters. So what we're doing with them is being able to be their golden stack, their go-to provider for the U.S. government for Kubernetes data protection and DR as part of the U.S. government and GovCloud. We talked about ransomware again. I just want to touch on this one point. I think a lot of people don't realize that ransomware is still a huge problem. It doesn't change just because your data has moved from traditional infrastructure or traditional applications into Kubernetes, doesn't mean your applications are more safe or more secure. The hackers are still out there looking and attacking Kubernetes clusters. You want to make sure that you have a solution available to protect your applications inside of EKS, OpenShift, or your favorite Kubernetes distribution for ransomware. So immutability is really the key word here. You've probably heard it 100 times. Make your data immutable when you're protecting it, right? That guarantees that it can't be deleted, can't be modified. You have a guaranteed good copy of that data to always recover from, so you're not going to have to pay that ransom. I don't think anyone really likes to pay a ransom today, right? So here's what we're doing with Amazon in this regard. So in our data protection engine, we're protecting all of that cluster metadata, all that application metadata, all that persistent data, right? Those PVCs in your Kubernetes clusters, that really important data. And we're using our data engine to not only deduplicate, compress, and encrypt that data, we're also using Object Lock S3 API to land that data in a completely immutable state inside of the AWS cloud. This data cannot be modified, changed, or removed for a set period of time. And this is as simple as clicking one mouse click inside of the K10 UI to enable this capability. And come over here and see a demo of this real quick. After we're done, you can see how easy it is to make your data immutable coming out of Kubernetes. So thanks for sticking here. My last thing I do is I want to show you a demo of the product. In this demo, we're going to be showing you app mobility, right? So I think app mobility in backup in Kasten K10 is really cool. So in this demo, we're going to be showing Amazon EKS Anywhere running on-prem inside of a vSphere environment. That's going to represent like our dev test, right? Our developers are building a website here on-prem, but production is up in the public cloud for scalability and performance. So we got to be able to move that application in a really easy and seamless way from on-prem infrastructure that could be running your favorite brand of local storage, right, up onto Amazon EKS in the public cloud, backed by elastic block storage, right? So this is how we're going to do this with Kasten K10. So let's go ahead and jump right into this demo. So here is the Kasten K10 interface. So if you haven't seen this before, this is what our dashboard looks like. We have a multi-cluster dashboard, meaning I have view into all my Kubernetes clusters. We're going to jump over to our Amazon EKS Anywhere cluster on-prem, and we're going to look at our applications. We automatically discover our applications in real time. And here's our corporate website running on-prem and dev test. We can click details and see all the components of that application. So this is what makes up that application inside of Kubernetes. Let's jump over to our public cloud version of EKS, and we can see there's no applications yet running in that EKS cluster. First thing we want to do here is create what we call a global data protection policy. So we'll show you how we create data protection first here inside of Kasten K10. You can see we've already set up an Amazon S3 bucket. This is going to be our location for our backup. And we're going to go over to policies. We're going to create a backup policy. And this is going to be our corporate website backup. So we're going to just give it a name here. We're going to set a snapshot frequency. So remember we talked about integrating into local snapshots. And then we're going to choose our export location, and that's out to that Amazon S3 bucket. We're going to select the corporate website for this backup. And we can also do things like labels to dynamic selection of applications as well. So we have our policy now synced to our clusters. I'm going to go ahead and run this policy once now just to kick off that backup so we don't have to wait for the scheduled job to run. So what we can do is watch that policy in action down here in the action pane in Kasten K10. First, you'll see a snapshot occur in the action window, and then an export. So the export then is out to Amazon S3. So now I have two data protection points, a snapshot and an external backup. Here's what our corporate website looks like running on-prem, just to give you an idea that, yes, this is an actual really running application. So now what we're going to do is move this application up to the public cloud. We do this with an export and import process within Kasten. So what we're going to do is export the application. So this prepares the application for migration up to the public cloud. And we get a unique encryption key for this application. So we're going to copy that. And what we're going to do now is jump over to the public cloud. No, we're going to let our application export finish here. And then we'll jump over to our public cloud EKS, and we'll do an import. So what's important to understand is that we're moving this application from my on-prem infrastructure, which is vSphere. It's got local storage underneath that. And we're going to be moving this application up into the public cloud backed by elastic block storage. This is a tricky move for a lot of applications if they're not available to do what we call app transformation. What we're doing here is changing the underlying storage class of that application when it gets imported. So what you're going to see here is I'm going to change my storage class value to an EBS block storage. I'm going to create that transformation, and then create my import policy here, and then we'll go ahead and run that. Let's put in our encryption key that we copied before, and create our policy. Once this policy is created, let's go ahead and run this. What this is doing now is migrating that application from on-prem up into the public cloud and changing the underlying storage class of that in the process. So once our import is complete, it just takes just a few seconds. Now you can see in my public cloud EKS, you can see that I've got my corporate website up here. I can click details. It shows you everything about the application is up in the cloud now. We're going to go back over to our on-prem, and I think we'll go ahead and delete this up here because I want to make sure that you guys know that the application is now running completely in the public cloud. So let me bring over my command prompt, my kubectl here, and we'll just delete that namespace completely because I want to show you guys that this application is completely running in the public cloud and that we're not running it still on-prem. We can watch how real-time the Kasten K10 UI understands that applications have been added or removed. You can see that was almost instantaneous, that the application disappears from our UI. Jumping over to the public cloud now, our corporate website is up there. And let's go to the URL of that website. And there it is. The application is now running from Amazon EKS in the public cloud, and we're ready for production. So just like that, that's really simple. That's our demo of using Kasten K10 to back up and migrate applications with Amazon EKS and EKS Anywhere. Thank you all. Again, my name is Adam Berg. If you want to hear more, you want to see more about Kasten K10, we have our experts over here. We're doing live demos with live systems. Come over and see some more. And thank you all for being here. And I think we got some prizes to give away.